dealer's choice.
Hello, welcome to another whiskey review with me, the Whiskey Novice. Thank you for joining me once again. It is review number 99, part 2 of my series, Dealer's Choice. If you didn't get where I'm going with this Dealer's Choice series, a few months back, I asked my patrons to pick me some whiskies that they wish me to review. Just randomly pick me whiskies you would like to hear my views on. Keep them under £100, make them available, and I'll do it. 4 names were picked out, this being the second one. It is Laphroaig 10-year-old Cask Strength, and it was picked by my good friend Frank, or you'll know him as Peat Gertz. I like to thank Frank for suggesting this and putting his name in the hat. If you wish to take part in that, wish to become a patron even, hang around the end of this review for details. So yes, Laphroaig, strap in. This is going to be a good one. The 10-year-old Cask Strength. This was one, I'm so glad that Frank chose this. This is what I love about this series. It's forcing my hand. It's making me pick whiskies that have been hanging around, probably on my wish list, and me looking at them going, oh, I would love to try that, but there's so many ahead of it that I want to buy, or, you know, so that was part of the reason for coming up with this series, forcing my hand to buy whiskies that either on that list or perhaps were a little maybe out of left field or something, you know. And it's just, that's challenging me a bit, challenging myself to do it. And I appreciate, as I say, those who offered up whiskies for me to try. And once again, can't thank Frank enough for suggesting this one. Strap in, as I said. Bottled at 60.1% for a Laphroaig. It is not chill filtered, it is the barrier filtered. So, I mean, really, all they're doing is trying to take the bits out, aren't they? So it's, you know, natural colour, nothing, no mention of it, but I suppose, you know, bottled at Cask Strength, so yeah, you have to suggest that it probably is natural colour. Woo! This has matured for 10 years in ex-bourbon casks. That's about that. If you don't like peated whiskey, turn away now. Probably is the best, you know, because yeah, this is a Peat Beast and a half. Bonfire, barbecue. I mentioned it before, cordite. There's a mineral note of it. Granted, it's I was, you know, maybe being a bit noisy there at first because it doesn't necessarily actually feel like 60.1%. Yes, it's all about smoke. That peat influence is all over it. But on the nose, it doesn't feel like 60.1%. It's accessible. You can actually get in there and enjoy it. It's zesty. Lemon zest, or even a lemon cleaner, which, you know, doesn't sound terribly pleasant, but you know what I mean. All the usual trappings of heavily peated whiskey, you know, iodine or TCP, hospitals, that sort of thing, which I, as much as I don't like to use them as descriptive words of peated whiskies, they're also hard to avoid. I know that when I came to start this review, this had been poured and sitting here, and I can smell it across the room. You know, it's that thing of peated whiskey that it's just such a distinct smell. It's hard to confuse with anything else, and it's generally the iodine TCP thing that I think stands out. Yeah, get right in there, leave it a while, and it's just all burnt, and then it comes a burnt out fire, an ashtray. But there's others, nutty chocolate. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a nutty chocolate, but still, it's all about that smoke, burning, fires. Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah. Sweet and sour delivery, even slightly sharp, bitter. Even there's a lot going on in that arrival. Mm. Once again, for 60.1%, perfectly palatable. All that zest still there. There's a real, it's not just zest, there's a real zing with this. It just coats with that zestiness and a sweetness. Sugared almonds, zesty lemon. Smoked by the bagful. Some slightly tannic notes. Tea. Even you get that feel of what's it's more a sensation here, definitely a sensation rather than a flavour. But when I say tannic, of a very dry red wine, very much that feel. But I keep repeating myself, 60.1%, incredibly palatable, incredibly easy to drink. Don't go at it. It's not, yet again, I've said it before, it's not a session whiskey by any means, but it's easy to drink as well. Finish, long, dry, hot. You're going to remember this for the rest of your day. You'll probably remember it for the rest of your life. It's just good smoke by the bucket load. And once you settle into it and you think you get to know the whiskey, yeah, yeah, yeah. Once you settle into it, it's like you've settled in for the night. Imagine this: you've settled in for the night. You're relaxed. You're with your family, your loved ones, whoever. You're on your own, but you've settled in. You're relaxed. You're watching a movie. Everything's calm and quiet in the house. Somebody comes along, taps the window, and scares the bejesus out of you. That's what this whiskey is. It's, yeah, it lulls you into a false sense of security. You're, yes, it's palatable. Yes, you can enjoy it. Zesty, smoky, etc., etc. You think, oh yeah, I could drink this easily, and then it just bang slaps you in the face again. With flavor, you're never ever lacking in flavor with it. Never could you accuse this of falling flat. Never ever. Water, yeah. I mean, they. I think I read it on actually the Laphroaig's website, but they recommended 3 times the amount of water to whiskey in your glass. I'm not going to do that. That would be the ruination. Now, in fairness, for all was left in my glass there, mint, lots and lots of mint. For all was left in my glass there, that was quite a lot of water. But at 60.1%, it can still cope with it. Of course, it can. That's weird. This is just a crazy horse whiskey because earlier I said that you could get in there, but now all that spirity volume, all that alcohol is the first thing that hits you in the nose. It's actually harder to nose with water in it because it's just livened it up. It's refreshed it. Still all right though. Don't get me wrong. It's all lemon zest, shock and awe, smoke, even smoked fish. Oh yeah, yeah, smoked fish. Mm. Palate coat's better actually. Oh, palate's better. It's chewy caramel along with that smoke. Yeah, it fades out into a nice bitter orange. Oat cakes. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. The water brings out that. Definitely brings in the vanilla and caramel, and even the finish. Still long, but it then becomes about the sweetness and the sweetness takes over and starts to thread that smoke out a little and thin the smoke out to just give you more of an experience of flavour. I did say earlier the flavour is there all the time, and it is. Just the water makes the flavour more interesting, shall we say. Not all about smoke and lemon zest. That caramel thing comes through. That's beautifully, beautifully soft, subtle caramel. But just, oh yeah, just made to be there. Now, before I move on, settle in for a moment because Frank, I think in the suggestion, and like a few others, he didn't just make one suggestion, he made a few suggestions, and all those suggestions are in the hat for later date. And what he was suggesting was a comparison of the cask strength to the standard 10-year-old. Yes, so much going on here. The standard 10-year-old. So what I'll do is move that over there. Now, I'm going to make this more complicated in a minute. This is the original 10-year-old, bottled at 40%. So, now I haven't, I probably, you know what I will do? See it here. Let's get rid of that. And probably slightly more than I meant to, but sure. So that is full cask strength and standard 40%. Not going to cleanse my palate. Probably should be doing so. You know, sue me. So this is the standard. Probably should have cleansed my palate, you know. Oh, because yeah, the standard then is very, very thin in comparison on the nose. A lot of that's gone. Yeah, I'm getting practically nothing here, and this is still all about smoke, etc. I give this a quick go before I move on to something else. Keep this game fair between the cask strength and the standard original non-cask strength 40%er. 40%. Still nice, but so pale, so thin, so weak on the palate, as it was then. Oh wow, massive, 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 massive cask strength. Yeah, this is just all of this. It's actually more than all of this turned up. It really is. But to keep it fair, this full cask strength 60.1%, what I did was this using my little let's get this just to show you what I'm talking about. So in, I'll still have it in the bag. My little refractor friend. Basically what you do is you pour a little drop of your alcohol on there, and and it tells you what percentage you're getting it at through light refraction. If you're a whiskey nerd like myself, it's a worthwhile thing to have. So what I did was I poured, this was like a 25 ml measure, well, a Scottish measure, and it took 9 milliliters of water to bring this down to 40%, to keep the level, to keep the playing field level. So nobody can argue with that there, surely. So this then, 40% Laphroaig 10-year-old. This Laphroaig Cask Strength, then down to 40%. So then, for now that my palate wants to get the 10-year-old Cask Strength, then Cask Strength brought down to 40% with water. Surprisingly, maybe unsurprisingly, noses the same. Now these have been settled for exactly the same length of time. It's not like as if one's been, just poured and the other one. Same mouthfeel, same nose, but the palate is thicker. The palate is much. Oh, the palate brings so much more flavour. 9 milliliters of water that took, bring that down to 40%. That measure, but the palate much nicer. That pales in comparison. Now, to say that a Laphroaig 10-year-old pales to anything is quite a bit to say, but it certainly pales to its Cask Strength sibling. There you have it. That's the best way I can describe that. This, by the way, if you tried this, then try this. If you like this, then try this. This is just a little experiment for your benefit, for everybody's benefit. Certainly for my benefit. It was actually nice to physically once bring a Cask Strength whiskey where I had one distillery I brought down to 40%. Take one myself and bring it down to 40%. Let them settle, see what happens. But in this case, you're still getting more bang for your buck. So if it were me, you're getting to a point where I'm not going to do the maths right now because those will fill me up on it. But if you were to bring this bottle down to 40%, quite a few bottles, or at least more than one bottle of the standard brought down to 40%. I think. There you go. Frank, Pete Head Gertz, if you're out there listening to this, which I know you will be, I hope that has answered that question from my point of view. Anyway, that comparison is just, it's weird. It's not going to put me off the 10-year-old, the standard 10-year-old. But for anybody out there who has maybe has the 10-year-old and thinks, oh, I'm not going to spend that extra money. This is 65 to £75 here in the UK. Standard 10-year-old, sometimes you can pick it up for like £30, maybe even less, depending on where you're at. But this not only is it it's just a better whiskey. You're taking a good or a much better whiskey than the original. And even to convert it down to 40%, as the original is, you still end up with a better whiskey. And now that I've been back and forward a little, the nose is starting to ramp up again. This is still back to 40%. Remember, the nose is starting to get mint again. Palate just so much more body about it. It really does than the standard 10-year-old. So that's that. Laphroaig 10-year-old Cask Strength. Do not take it lightly. This, by the way, I suppose I should have mentioned, is the batch 12, bottled in February 2020, because like a lot of the others, yet again, watch out for batch variation that is in there. And it's a beast. It is a beast. Don't take it lightly. All right, move on. Even thin down to 40%. Still a quality whiskey. How do I compare? What do I compare this with? Well, I mentioned earlier on about cordite and mineral, and it made me think of one other peated whiskey that I had, one I have in my collection, one I had before. Because once again, I can only compare them to whiskies that I know or whiskies that I've had. That was this Port Charlotte. You know, this bottled at 50%. So you're not being shortchanged here for your money. But I remember thinking that, you know, from the Port Charlotte, from the Valley Distillery, and I remember thinking whenever I had this, yet again, a very minerally thing about it, a very, as I said, cordite, it's, you know, even burnt matches or something like that. Of the two of them, this isn't cheap. This is, I think this is around the 60 to 70 pounds mark from memory. If you're thinking about this, honestly, and you haven't had this yet, do yourself a favour, spend the extra and buy a Laphroaig Cask Strength, because it's worth the extra. And you know, if it's accessible to you, it's worth it. If those prices translate where you're at, this is worth the extra. Definitely for me. Bruichladdich a thing all its own. Port Charlotte's a thing all its own. I think if you like peated whiskey, you'll have had Laphroaig of some shape or form. And the 10-year-old Cask Strength, for me, currently, for the Laphroaigs I've had, caps them. It really does. It's only 10 years old. Once again, getting it down to 40% doesn't lose anything. Like this, by the way, try that. I think you can tell. I do like my peated whiskies. Said it before. Said again, I do like my peated whiskies. These are peat beasts. They're not the where you take an older peated whiskey and that peat starts to mellow out a little. You take I'm trying to think, you know, those ones with the peat, there's just the percentage of peated malt, even ones that are fully peated malt. There's a lot of them just don't match up to that Laphroaig experience for me. And that's the thing about Laphroaig. I think it's the best way to explain, to describe Laphroaig is it's an experience. You either like it or you don't. I do. And this is a prime example of Laphroaig. Yes. So that's that. That's it done for this one. Thank you very much to Frank for making this suggestion. Thank you very much for watching. It's always good to have you in. Thank you very, very much to my patrons. If you wish to join that group, the details are below in the video description. Till the next time, to good health. Cheers.
Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please click and subscribe to be notified of further content.